Hey people, it's Steel Gamer with a Diablo 3 video that's going to explain my procedure and methods for going from level 1 to 70 in a new season. Now, I want to be clear that the stuff I'm going over and using in this video, a lot of people use a lot of the same stuff. Like somebody will say, you know, everybody knows enough to grab your follower weapon, things like that. However, what I'm going to be going over, as far as my understanding and my knowledge, is that a lot of the stuff that I came up with that I think is far more efficient, and I'm not saying don't use anybody else's videos, I'm just saying this is what works for me, is that I have come up with a various method that really flies through everything. So usually my playtime when I'm between like levels 10 and 15 usually equates out to be 1 level per minute. And I'm not saying I gain a level per minute. What I'm saying is by the time I'm level 10, 9 to 11 minutes of playtime have gone by. Or when I'm level 15, 14 to 16 play minutes have gone by. So that being said, it basically rounds off to being level 1 to, you know, a level a minute. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I got a lot of people asking me, how in the hell do I get to level 70 this fast? Now, obviously, I don't do it the fastest, but I'm relatively quick on how this goes. So, what I'm going to do is go over some things with this. I'll be explaining things in this video, not actually doing it, and then I'm actually going to go ahead and have a stopwatch in one of the corners of the video, or over the chat here, I should say, and that's going to show you as I'm playing. So I'll be making another video using the methods I'll be explaining in this video. So first things first, I'm going to explain that a necromancer is by far one of the most powerful characters in the entire game, and for that particular reason, that is why I level with a necromancer, and that also has some part to do with the set bonuses and things like that that fall into place. But basically, a necromancer can have on really, you know, ass gear and still do greater rip levels that the average character couldn't do without, you know, at least 2 set pieces and things like that. So even though what I'm about to say may or may not make sense, if you stick with it, it'll make sense in the end. So first thing first, I usually rebirth my character. In this particular case, I already have it set up where I have a character, I just call him Perky Goggles, but this is the necromancer that I'll be using in season. I'm going to rebirth him. I don't rebirth. There's a reason why. But anyway, I put all my components from this character onto him, because if you rebirth it, all the items sit in your mailbox, and what winds up happening is you can wind up losing all the items. I've actually had that happen with my Demon Hunter. I lost all my primal items because I forgot to take them out of the mailbox, and I was so concentrated on season for a month, it was ridiculous, so that was on me. So just make sure that if you're going to rebirth a character, the items you're having on there are already off. Like, this is all set to go, so as soon as Friday comes, I'm rebirthing, and it's already done. There's nothing on this character at all. Now, the reason I rebirth the character is because, as bizarre as this sounds, it shaves seconds off of the time. Because if I go to select hero, in this case, or I should say switch hero, create, select this, click the name I want, and then do everything, by that time, 5 to 10 seconds has gone by. I know that doesn't seem like much, but when you're trying to get to level 70 fast, shaving seconds off things actually does matter. So I will rebirth the character because everything I need is already set up. It's just done. It's already there. So from that particular point, I can go in and I can go into the game. Now, when you first go into the game, I'm just going to start the game in a private game. I usually, since it's a brand new season, you don't have anything, I usually start at Torment 1. Some people will say go to Master or Expert, but no, I go to Torment 1, and there's a reason why I do that. So let's say I just started this character, I go in. One of the first things I do is, since this game relies on luck, and this is where a lot of the videos tell you that you want one of the sub-bosses, such as Zoltan Cool is the easiest, because what happens is you get the items from him. If he's a bounty, you want a boss, an easy to quick get-to boss that's a bounty, because at least behind the chest it gives you items, so forth down the line. However, that's not always going to be the case. That's why when people tell you to go into a group game, 4 players spreading out between separate games, it's going to basically net you a way to get it faster than somebody logging in and out 4 times. So, and you still may not even get it. So, that being said, that's just the way this operates. The next boss would be Belial. Now, I'm going to point out that Belial and the Skeleton King have something really crucial that no other video explains. And so let me continue. So first things first. I go in here, and obviously I would sell my my scythe, because the reason you sell the scythe is you can't salvage it. It starts you off getting gold. Second thing, you want to open up your pets and equip one. Next, you hire the scoundrel. The reason you hire the scoundrel is the necromancer can't use a bow, so he's just easy to hire. And then you grab the items off of you grab the Templar or the Enchantress's inventory. So that's what you would do. Then you would equip the shield from the Templar, and then you would equip whatever weapon is better from either the Enchantress or the Templar. That's the first thing. Now, what I'm about to do next is subjective. Now, some people will go into the blacksmith's belongings, grab the book because it gives you XP. This gives you XP. All the books in these back rooms give you XP. So you can literally, by going through all of and grabbing all these books, there's even one in Act 4 that a lot of people forget about. So if you go to Act 4, or if you start off in Act 4, so if I start off in Act 4, let me get this out of the way. If the game puts me in Act 4, the first thing I'll do is run over and grab the book out of this. That is a guaranteed automatic 25 XP. Obviously, it's going to be different because I'm a higher level. But it's automatically going to be guaranteed to give you an instant X start on the XP. Then I would go to level 1. I would go to Act 1 and do all that. Now, the reason behind why I pointed out that Belial, the area for the boss, and the Skeleton King are crucial is because what I'm going to do in there jacks up a speed boost immensely. So I'll show you what you have to do here. I use two areas. I would actually use the Skeleton King area first. Now, what happens is if you don't have these bosses, I'm still going to show you a way around it, even without the items, because the only thing you're basically doing is gaining items from it, plus the bonus XP from getting the chest, plus the bonus from killing the enemy, from the boss. But if you're not going to kill the boss, or you don't get those bosses, it's not going to help you out, but you still don't want to waste time logging in and out. So what you do in this particular case is you break all these urns. Breaking these urns, the more you break, the more breakable objects you do, the faster your speed bonus. And you can only get up to a minute speed bonus, but that minute speed bonus is huge. It's huge. And as I said, I'm going to be making a video showing you everything I'm explaining in this video and using it. Now, I'm probably going to forget a few things, so just bear with me. Now, the first thing you do when you grab all of these items off of the Templar and everything else is you would actually log out of the game. The reason you log out of the game and go back to the main menu is because you want to do the Challenge Rift. The Challenge Rift opens up a few things. It gives you all of the material and gold to make pretty much whatever items you want. Now, the key factor with this chest isn't just that it's not the blood shards, it's not the other components, it's actually the death breaths. The death breaths are crucial because it allows you to put components in your cube for legendary powers. It takes 5 of them to do it. So that leaves a choice. When you get the chest off of the challenge mode, you have two options you can do. You can either A, level both the complete blacksmith in I think it's the artisan here, or the mystic. Either way, from that chest alone, you can max out everything in here. But the problem is, once you max that out, you have a choice of putting 2 legendaries in the cube, or 1 legendary in the cube, because you would only have 3 death breaths left after upgrading these 2. And I would suggest that you upgrade all of these to get them out of the way, and that way when you get other items, you can continually make them. Plus, you will still have all the gold left over after doing that. Now, the reason why I say do that instead of putting 2 legendaries in the cube is simply because when you get certain legendaries, you can't change around the stats on them at the artisan because you would need the death breaths to do that. That's the reason you do that. So doing what we're doing this actually makes you a lot more versatile as far as what you can do. And so the cat comes down to which legendary do you put into the cube. And you want to put something in the cube that has benefit to just a generic, not locked to your character, but just a generic aspect. So, for example, let's see, Sky. Okay, so I don't know, Sky Shard of Hate or whatever, for example. That gives multiple things depending on what you're doing. So it's just random. It's random about what you want to do. So you want something to generically benefit you. That's what you do. Now, it's a toss-up when you hit level 7 to level 10 where you start going to fences. The fences give you rings and everything else. The damage boosts from the rings is what you're after, but other stuff helps you out, things like that. Now, the other reason why I say go do the chest is because when you get yellow items, all right, you can start putting sockets in yellow items that you get at level 15. And it's actually cheaper to put sockets in there. And the reason you put sockets in there is because after you get those event chests and you do what I'm about to show you inside some of the areas to generate some levels, you go join a public bounty game and completely do all 5 acts. The reason behind that is not only are you going to continue getting XP for the killing of monsters, but you're getting a group XP on top of that. As well as you're going to wind up getting gems out of these chests, which allow you to stack create higher grade gems to put in your helmet. Because even if you don't get a Leoric's crown early off is pointless because you don't have a gem in it. And people are like, oh, I got a Leoric's crown at level 2. Great, yeah, you get a stat boost off of it. But I can get a stat boost off of making a level 5 helm that does the same thing. The only reason Leoric's helm is so good at the beginning is because it requires a gem. If you have a gem, that's a totally different story. But until you get gems, Leoric's crown is pointless. So in that regard, what I would do is I would actually put the Leoric's crown in the cube. That way, no matter what, I could continually create helms with sockets in them and keep moving the ruby over and continue getting a massive XP gain off of the helms. Now, what happens here when you're doing these quests is that once you get the bounties done, the reason for the bounties is you are guaranteed. People say it's kind of you may or may not. No, you may or may not get it. No, you're guaranteed. If you do an entire bounty game on hard, you are guaranteed to get Born's set and Kane's set, which are XP boosting sets. Now, when you're doing Born's, all right, there's a key factor here that Born's and Kane's have 2 things you want to do with them. First, when you do Kane's, you do not make a helm. The reason behind you don't make a helm is either A, if you have a Leoric's crown, or B, you put the Leoric's crown in the cube. The reason why I say this is because if you have Kane's helm, that's a set level. If you don't use Kane's helm, as I said, you can continually keep socketing items over and over and over again in your helm. So while the remainder of your stats stay the same, you can still keep boosting your toughness and your life and everything else off of the other helms you're making. Now, Born's requires, this is another thing, the key factor with Kane's helm is the same exact thing I'm going to explain about Born's weapon. So if you go into, and let's say I'm going to use Born's, I'll go to Born's here. So let me make these and show you what's going on. All right, so if I go to Kane's helm, this is what you would get at level 23. So what you would do is you'd make Born's set first and equip it, and then you would make Kane's set. So Born's it's a one-handed sword, I believe. Okay, so that's 70. Okay, Born's Searing Spite. Now, the same situation when you're dealing with Born's and Kane's. Born's only requires 2 pieces to get the bonus. It does not require 3, even though it has 3 pieces. Kane's has 4 pieces, but only requires 3 to get the bonus. Now, since you have a Royal Ring of Grandeur that's automatic in effect for everybody, you only need 2 of the pieces in this regard, too. It's going to help you out even further. But I'm just looking at the fact that if you didn't have this stuff, this is what you would normally do. So, what happens here is, when you're dealing with Kane's helm and the Born's sword, you would wear a armor piece and a shoulder piece for Born's, and then you would wear gloves, boots, pants with Kane's. And the reason that you put pants for Kane's is because it has sockets in it. You can put sockets in it. So when you're dealing with Born's, the reason you don't make the weapon is because the weapon limits you to whatever level it is. In this case, it's 21. What you would want to do in both cases is not make the helm, not make the sword, and continue making higher grade versions of the sword and the helm. That way you can sustain life, survivability, and keep pumping out massive damage. Well, your shoulder piece and your chest piece and your gloves, your pants, and your boots don't change. These will. These impact significantly. And when you start being able to create higher and higher grade gems for the ruby, that would work there. Plus, the ruby you put in your helm here also would affect the Leoric's crown and the cube for when you do this. Now, keeping in mind, I'm going to wind up ending this stream afterwards and showing you every single thing that I'm going over here in effect from a level 1 to show you the difference. Because for those of you just tuning in at the beginning of this video, what happens is in season is I keep getting asked, how the hell do I get to level 70 fast? And again, this isn't the only method, but this is extremely effective because I get to level 70 pretty much before anybody on my friends list. And like, how the fuck do you do that? And that is because of how I play. I play solo. Well, group games do have their benefit, and people tell you to go into rifts. Going into rifts will not allow you to gain a massacre bonus, which is what I'm going to show you and why I'm using a necromancer, and everything pieces together. But the key factor here is when I'm level 10, my level equates out pretty much my playing time. So if I'm level 10, again, I repeated this at the beginning of the stream, but for those of you just getting here, I'll quickly explain this now. When I'm level 10, my playtime is usually between 9 and 11 minutes. If I'm level 15, my playtime is usually between 14 and 16 minutes. I roughly average a level every minute. And that's the key factor here because of the way I do things and because of how I do things. So I'm going to be giving you a couple tips and tactics that will help you keep these massacre bonuses going, because what people in these videos don't tell you is that there are certain factors involved here that don't allow you to keep your massacre bonus going unless you use certain tricks and tips with certain characters that the necromancer is extremely useful to use. Now, there are certain things that during the levels you have to manage this character, so it's kind of a pain in the ass, and I've been managing it for so long, I just gotten so used to doing it. So the key factor is getting used to understanding your character and things like that, what to change, when to change it, when to change back, when to change the difficulty, things like that. So, as I'm going through that video, I'll be saying this is what I'm doing and why, but for the most part, this is just me explaining the setup that I use and why. So, basically, once you get Born Set on, you're going to fly through the levels because of how I'm playing. Once Born Set goes on, and then you're gonna level to level 23 almost really fast within a matter of like 2 minutes. It's ridiculous. If I show you what's going on, you'll get it. And then when you increase once you get those done, you have to increase the weapons you're using, things like that, so forth down the line. So that's basically how this operates. And then there's a simple procedure I use once you get that set up that you just keep repeating over and over and over again. And there's going to be nobody that's going to be able to touch you unless they're playing a bot or they're playing a group game and they get extremely lucky, because luck has a severe part to do with who's going to get ahead and who isn't. Now, the reason Season 16 is going to be so good to play is simply because Blizzard has done what I've been bitching about for ages, and that is primal items are guaranteed to be dropping off of Greater Rift bosses. Now, the procedure for getting primal items is still the same. Everybody's locked to that restriction. But now that primal items are guaranteed off of a Rift boss, it changes the structure of the leaderboard. Before the leaderboard you have to get lucky, and those of you who bought, people think that botting is going to get you closer to a primal, and that's not true. People think playing longer is going to get you to a primal faster. That's not how that works. Luck is the only factor involved in getting a primal. So people who have a lot of primals have nothing to do with how long that they play. It has to do with how lucky they got. It's that simple. There's no control over it, and there's nothing you can do to increase or speed up getting primals. You could go through 50 billion items. That's not going to get you closer to a primal than somebody who only goes through one item. It's just the way the game is operated, and it's really hard to understand that. So it's a pain in the ass. So anyway, with guaranteed primals, it changes the entire structure of the game and puts out almost more of a level playing field than just getting lucky. So I just wanted to clear that up. Okay, so now, once you get to a certain point, because you've already done bounties, and because you've already gotten the gems, and because you've already gotten the the upgrades and everything else, the process that you're going to be the process that I use in these videos that I'm going to be showing you is going to fly through your leveling immensely fast. So what happens here is eventually you're going to start to need to make higher grade items, which is the whole reason for increasing the entire structure of the blacksmith. Not only does increasing the blacksmith get you a reward for I think it's one of the requirements for Hadrick's gifts. The other thing is that you can continue making higher grade items, and as soon as you get a higher grade item, let's say you hit level 40 or whatever, you can craft a level 60 item and then go into the secondary effects and make sure you reduce the level requirements by X amount so you can equip it faster. So now you're using a level 60 item at level 40. When you hit level 50, you can go to level, you can go to, craft a level 70 legendary. Like, I could craft this level 70. I would actually craft, people could argue that, if you're going to be level 40, you'd craft a level 60. No. You would craft this, because this doesn't require souls. It requires these. So when you, let's say you're going to craft this, I'll just bring it over to the place and show you. So what you're doing is you're looking at the secondary effects. So life after kill and 1% chance knockback. I don't think the knockback can be changed. But what you're going to do is, if you take a look at this, there's only certain items that you can put lower level requirements on. And as you can see, level requirements reduced by 20 to 23. So if this is level 60 and you're level 40, and you hit a level 23 requirement, you're instantly going to be able to equip it. And not only are you equipping it, you're equipping a legendary item. So what happens here is the bounty chest that you did, plus the event chest, gives you the gold to allow you to manipulate this. Now, I want to point out that if you take a look at this, see how many options there are here for level requirements? There's a lot. Doing this reduces how many there are. So there's only 4, and sometimes you can get only 3 depending on what it is. So what you would do is you change the stat for whatever the lowest amount. That doesn't mean you're going to get it. Reducing the level requirements is a pain in the ass. It's one of these rare affixes that the game doesn't really want to give you. So if you wind up running through this like 5 times, scrap the item and go do it again if you want to do it. So let's try this. So I'm going to do this like 3 times. See, as you can see, even though it's only 4, I will get all of these other things. I will get everything else except for this, depending on what you're doing. This is why you don't want to waste all the time doing this. See? This is what goes on. But this is the reality of when you do this. So, I would have scrapped this and then gone back. Sometimes it'll be crafted with it. So let's see here. Let me do another weapon here and do this. Sometimes, if you want, you can just craft multiple versions of it. See, that's level requirement minus 19. I would probably keep that, and then what I would do is I'd adjust the other stats off of the item to do more damage or whatever. So in this case, I wouldn't use cooldowns. I would actually increase damage on it. So in this particular case, I would put, I don't know, like, per hit or, whatever. It just depends. I would actually put damage on this. So I'd wait and do this. So this is a little different because, like I said, you have to be careful about the gold you're spending and things like that. So this is basically the gist of how this operates. If you wanted survivability, you put vitality on it, but your main factor here is damage. That's what you really want on here. I'm just changing around the slots. Or actually, sockets would even be better, because the reason you put a socket in this, you can actually increase the damage off of the weapon by putting a ruby in it. That would probably be your best bet. And so that's about the extent of that. Now, when you're first leveling in here, I'll explain why I said you want to use, as you came in, somebody came in when I was explaining this, but basically there are 2 places in the game that are crucial for you to be gaining a massive speed boost, and that is in the Royal Crypts, which is killing all these ashes here. And this entire crypt is filled with them. So what you would do is you only need to kill the beginning. You'll see me. I'll do it. But I usually break this. There's 2 like sarcophaguses here, and then up here. That's enough to give you the speed boost all you need. You have to remember, when you hit like 12 or 14 crushed items, you're at max speed boost. There's no reason to keep wasting it and going on, because you can always teleport back there do more of them, and then go back and continue. So basically what happens, what I'm about to explain next, is subjective, but you're going to need the Kanani's cube. So that leads into, do you come up here early? Do you come up here afterwards? That just depends. Depending on the situation, depends on what you're doing. So what in this particular case, whenever you're going to get the Kanani's cube, it's not even relevant what level you do it at. Always do it on normal, because if you get a speed boost and you're up high enough, you can just fly through the entire thing. And I'll be going and doing that as a mock going to get it, so you can see exactly the procedure that I use and why this is crucial. Because when you're dealing with the Necromancer, you have to manage the character. So there are going to be skills you're going to be swapping back and forth. There's going to be runes you're going to be adding. And because of how I use my character, I literally have to swap the skill slots. So, for example, when it starts out, Bone Spikes is here, and this is a generic thing. And that's just a regular attack. But when you level, this becomes Bone Spear or something. And with Bone Spear, I have to have it in the slot that, this Bone Spikes is in. I have to swap the skill slots because of how I play. But that's a quick thing. Like I said, I've been doing this for so long, it's just second nature to me. So let me continue here. Once you get the cube, that's all you're going to need. But getting the cube is also a key factor too, because the system that I use for getting the cube, and why I say play it on normal, is because you can generate massacre bonuses along the way to get the cube and deal with anything. It is so overpowered, it's ridiculous. So in that regard, you're not just you're not slowing down to get those. You're also getting massacre bonuses, which keeps you up to speed. And yeah, you might fall slightly behind on the time that you're doing, but you'll be able to relatively keep up, because the massacre bonuses will make up for any lost time that you didn't get as far as getting XP and things like that. Now, there's a couple things that I want to get out of the way when you're dealing with lower level shit. If you can avoid them, elites do absolutely nothing. So unless an elite has Vortex on it or Waller, ignore them. Just run by them, because they're not going to generate the same stuff. Yeah, they might drop an item here and there, whatever it is. But at the beginning of the game, your followers' items that you take are going to be far more damage dealing than anything else. Now, it's also crucial to understand that when you're level 1 and you find a boss, you want to kill the boss at level 1, even on Torment 1, because the damage ratio between you and the boss is so obnoxious that you can take the boss out relatively quick, even on Torment 1, because it's just the way the damage ratios work. Compared if you're level 3, that's a different story. So there comes a point in time where you're just going to have to swap off and then whatever. So after you kill some of the bosses, you're going to have to log out and then log back in. That resets both this area, because you want the urns or the ashes, as well as Belial. When you go to Belial, all the vases and everything else are right at the beginning. Like if I broke all of these right now, it would give me, just from what's around this circle in itself, it would probably give me a 14. It would give me a 14 crushed item speed boost. So it's ridiculous the speed boost you get. So instead of walking slow, you're going to need speed to do this. And I want to point out that even areas that are highly dense, that have dense areas that have a high density to a lot of enemies, that's not going to help you, because I'm going to bring you through and show you the Weeping Hollow, for example. Okay, the Weeping Hollow has a shitload of freaking enemies in it. But the problem is they're too spread out. Without a speed bonus, trying to keep a massacre bonus going is ridiculous. It's so hard to do that it's pointless. So if you take a look, here's some enemies here. Watch where the next enemies are. Yes, you can grab all these, but if you killed all those and got a massacre bonus off of these, what you wind up running into is the elites. See how they have Waller on them? Things like that. When you're dealing with the elites that have Waller, it's going to hinder your ability to it's going to hinder your ability to get the massacre bonuses, because what happens is, to keep massacre bonuses going, you have to throw Bone Spikes out at the enemies from off the screen. That's the issue with that. And so let me get rid of all these just to show you. Alright, so the Necromancer has a really far reach as far as their damage ratios go, what they can throw, where they can hit. Like, I can throw bone spikes like at the edge of this screen. It's ridiculous. So any enemies that are far ahead of me, I don't need to go directly to them. I just need to hit them in order to get the massacre bonus to continue going. So that's what the key factor with all of these is. So now, that all being said, I'm going to go in at level 1, and I am going to go ahead, keep a stopwatch in the corner, and I'm going to show you how this operates. So, Steel Gamer signing off. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Keeping updated for the next video that's going to happen in a few minutes.